In a season with such lofty expectations where the only questions seemed to be surrounding the pitching staff, freshman righty Thomas Burns came in and delivered from the start. He went 5 innings, he had 7 strikeouts, only allowed 1 run, and from the moment he stepped on the mound, he looked like he belonged. Coach Powers tried to have some perspective and told the media that if you told him earlier before the season started that they would be 7-2-1 and that they would have split a series with Denver, that he would have been happy with that. He would have taken that any day of the week. So while the loss stings, he's going to move on to Alaska Anchorage next week. They're an improved team. They beat Penn State, and he's going to figure out how to prepare for them. Thanks, guys. Coming off last week's game, Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils will face off against the Oklahoma State Cowboys, a rematch of last year's game in which the Sun Devils lost 34-17. That game obviously was under Herm Edwards. This year, it's Dillingham leading the ship in his first matchup ever against the Cowboys. Dillingham has talked about how much he wants to make Tempe into a massive home field advantage, and it will be this week. It's projected to be 107 degrees at kickoff, tied for the hottest ever at Mountain America Stadium. The other time, September 2013 against Sacramento State, when the Sun Devils won 55-0. I'm sure Dillingham and the rest of the team is hoping for much of the same this week. Back to you guys at the desk. Thanks, Jack. To take a deeper dive into ASU's recent struggles, we welcome to the desk Inferno Intel football reporter Ari Wall. Ari, the Sun Devils had 8 turnovers, but more importantly, 4 before half. What went wrong, especially early on for ASU?
Yep.
The big news this morning, Drew Pine was announced the starter for Saturday, and ASU, they're a 34-point underdog. Is there, if there is a way, what's the path to completing the upset?
Yeah, well,
it's going to be interesting to see, indeed. But thanks for stopping by, Ari. Now, transitioning from the gridiron to the hardwood, ASU volleyball is undefeated so far this season. The team hasn't lost a set since September 3rd. The Sun Devils just played in a packed Mullet Arena on Thursday for their Pac-12 home opener. John Kinney has more on their dominant start. Thanks, Alex. It'll be fun to watch the start of conference play later today. But that's all we've got today. Lauren, it was great sharing the desk with you today. For Lauren Avenatti and our entire crew, I'm Stephen Buxton saying so long. We'll see you next week on Inside the Inferno. ASU men's hockey is looking to improve upon an 0-2 start last weekend at Minnesota Duluth. The Sun Devils competed with the number 4 ranked Bulldogs, losing 3-2 in overtime and 4-1 in the second game. Even with goals in the series from Lucas Sillinger, Jack Jensen, and Demetrius Komuntzis, the Sun Devils were not able to keep up with the perennial Frozen Four contending Bulldogs. They go back to Minnesota this weekend for another big series against Bemidji State. After that, the Devils finally come home to play in the new Mullet Arena against Colgate. For ASU to reach its goals of making it to the playoffs and the Frozen Four, the Sun Devils need to prove that they can truly compete with and beat many of the highly ranked schools they will face. 6 of the teams on this year's schedule are ranked in the top 20, and 4 more of those teams are receiving votes in the most recent poll. And the tough schedule includes a weekend hosting number 2 Minnesota, followed by a trip to face the reigning national champions in Denver. After the game, head coach Greg Powers acknowledged that the team had played well enough to win, but said that lately they just haven't had any puck luck, and acknowledged that the team is frustrated with the way the season has turned. Frustrating might be an understatement for this season. After a 7-4 start, which included a 5-1 record at home, it feels like the turning point for this season has been their trip to New York for the series against Clarkson. After sweeping Alaska Anchorage the week prior, the Sun Devils were swept out of the East Coast and have spiraled down since. In the 16 games since playing Alaska Anchorage, the Sun Devils have not won a series, they've been swept 4 times, and most importantly, they turned a season with 2 program-altering wins into a season that is on life support. The Sun Devils currently sit at 11-16, and there's not just one reason for that. The team has struggled to take opportunities, ranking 34th in the country in power play percentage, and they have the worst face-off win percentage in the country, and the Sun Devils spend more than enough time in the box, with the 3rd most penalty minutes per game in the country. One bright spot for the team has been their penalty kill. They have the 12th best killing percentage in the country and the 5th most shorthanded goals, which has kept them in games during this skid. While it may seem bleak, the Sun Devils still have an outside shot to make it into the tournament. The team just needs to get hot at the right time. The Sun Devils need to win 9 of their remaining games to end the season with a winning record, and one can assume there would be more required to return to the tournament. It's been a great semester for ASU sports. All sorts of incredible plays and moments, whether it's a big game-winning goal or a save, they were all considered. But in the end, there were only 5 that could make the final cut. So here are my top 5 moments of the semester. At number 5, ASU men's basketball started off 1-1, and for a moment it looked like they were about to take their second loss of the season when they were down 10 to UMass Lowell in the final minutes of the game. But with it all on the line, junior guard Frankie Collins came through making key shots and eventually going down the length of the court, splitting a pair of defenders and putting up the final points of the game to put ASU up 2 with just over a second left. Taking it outside to the field with the number 4 spot, the Sun Devils had a tough year in football, but one guy made it look easy every week, and it was Cam Scadaboo. The senior running back came over from Sacramento State before this season and was a highlight reel every time he touched the ball. But none of his plays were more impressive than what he did in Week 10 at the Rose Bowl. Scadaboo showed that he could do it all when head coach Kenny Dillingham went to the back of the playbook and put him in at Wildcat. Scadaboo took the ball at the 30-yard line and fired a strike into the arms of Elijah Badger for a touchdown, giving the Sun Devils a 10-point lead in the third quarter against UCLA. At the number 3 spot, we're going to take a look at volleyball. We've talked about them multiple times throughout the program, and we're going to give them another appearance. They made the NCAA tournament in a season filled with big moments, but one of the biggest was their performance against their rivals down south. The Sun Devils opened up the year with a win against the Wildcats to cap off their incredible regular season, and they made a statement when they went into Tempe for the final match of the season and took it 3-0, having swept U of A this year and not losing a single set in the process. The only thing in their season that could top sweeping U of A, my number 2 moment of the year, on October 29th, when the Sun Devils were in the midst of one of their best starts of the year, in years, they backed it up at Mullet Arena. ASU was taking on one of the behemoths of the sport, number 3 ranked Stanford, and they didn't even give them a chance. The Sun Devils take down the Cardinal in 3 sets, the best of many amazing moments in their season. But there's still one moment that tops the list, one goal, one of many possibly program-altering wins that we've seen over the last year from this team. At number 1 is hockey's overtime winner versus Denver. The Sun Devils, slowly climbing the rankings at the time, welcomed in what is the gold standard of college hockey, the program they strive to be, the program that they built Mullet Arena to host games against, the same team that will be their second closest geographical rival when they join the NCAHC next season. The number 2 ranked Denver Pioneers came into a hostile Mullet Arena, and the teams went blow for blow in a game for the ages. But it all came down to that home ice, the Mullet magic. The Sun Devils entered the game undefeated in overtime and games at Mullet. And it was the captain finishing it off, Tyler Gratton. He sent the fans home happy with his overtime goal while also earning himself the top spot on my list for the top moments in ASU sports this semester. Coming off their second loss of the season Thursday to Ohio State, Arizona State baseball needed to bounce back. Head coach Willie Bloomquist stated that there was a lack of focus and intensity in the team for the first game of the series, and knew that that had to change for Game 2. Bloomquist turned to his freshman pitcher Thomas Burns to get the Sun Devils back on track on Friday. In just his second career start, Thomas Burns continued to prove why he is the Sun Devils guy for Friday nights. 4 1/3 innings pitched, just 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. Coach Bloomquist continued to sing praises about what the freshman has done.
But the great thing about him is when he does give up runs, he doesn't seem to be rattled. He just goes right back to work and continues his game plan. And he's a very smart kid, where he kind of sensed that they were, on his fastball, and so he started pitching backwards kind of on his own tonight. And the great thing about him is he's able to drop his breaking stuff in for strikes, work ahead off of that, and pitch backwards when he needs to. Again, I've said it before, that's why he's on Friday night for us.
While Burns was good, according to everyone, the focus that wasn't there Thursday showed up. A locked-in offense was able to lead the way, putting up 14 runs with all 9 starters getting hits.
100 times better. It was really cool to see us go out like that, and Thomas setting it up for us, being able to be shut down, and same with Korn, the rest of the pitching staff, and then just letting us have the opportunity to do what we do. And I was really proud of everybody that performed today.
Led by a combined 7 RBIs from Brandon Compton and Jacob Tobias, the Sun Devils displayed a constant of their early success, the ability to bounce back and play under pressure. Players and Bloomquist have both mentioned how important it is for them to be able to stop a skid before it happens and never lose 2 games in a row. So far this year, they're 2 for 2 and made a statement on Friday. The Sun Devils are back at it on Saturday and Sunday for games 3 and 4 of the weekend series against Ohio State. From Tempe, I'm Stephen Buxton, reporting for Inferno Intel.